We're going to testify. You will raise your right hand, please, so we can swear you in.
Raise your right hands.
Okay.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're giving today is true and correct, so help you God?
I do.
I do.
San County County Court, probate court come to order, calls number 41. Excuse me, the state of Timothy White. Kellogg, you on? There you are. You're muted, ma'am.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can. I'm gonna put, hold on just a minute. My doctor's calling. I need to answer this. I'm gonna put you on mute for a second.
I can't see it so well, but it's okay. You ready? Yeah. I don't know how to get it to full.
Okay, I'm sorry. You know, when you get my age,
I
you
can't
always
hear,
got
Cynthia.
doctors calling you. And all right, Miss Kellogg, you may proceed, ma'am.
I don't
Cynthia,
see
I
my
can't hear.
clients. Are they here?
Yes, I'm here.
Where are you? Raise your hand.
Hang on 1 second.
All right, yeah, we need your camera on, please. There you go. All right, did we swear you in a while ago? Okay, go ahead. Let's swear you in again since we can see you now. Raise your right hand, please.
Mr. White, do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're giving today is true and correct, so help you God?
I do.
Okay, now you can proceed, Counselor.
I have two other witnesses, Your
Can you
Honor.
hear me?
Who's your other witnesses?
I have
can
Chris
hear you.
Stokes and Courtney
Can I
Erdman.
come to the courthouse?
I see Mr.
Courtney's on.
Stokes.
Courtney
Erdman
right
All right, Miss Courtney and yeah, I see Mr. Stokes. All right, did we swear you in?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
I'll with Christy and see if I can come to the courthouse.
All right.
Something's wrong.
Georgia, you can't hear me? Miss Clapper? Marangela, if you'll call Georgia, tell her we can hear her.
Yes, sir. Right now.
Well, we're starting off good this morning. All right. Court coordinators calling Miss Clapper. Let's skip down to cause number
Is that
13.
Christy?
Okay, hold on. Let me stop this. They can, this.
All right, she's working with it. Okay, skip down to 13, the state of Judith Ann Jameson. Mr. Fuller, good morning.
Good morning, Judge. I'm here, and I have two witnesses and my applicant.
All right, and they're all here.
They're all here, and they've all been sworn.
Okay, you may proceed, Counsel.
Okay. Mr. Fisher, would you state your name for the court?
Lonnie B. Fisher.
And you have knowledge and you knew the decedent Judith Ann Jameson, is that correct?
Sure did.
And for how many years did you know Miss Jameson?
All of her life.
All of her life. And that would have been, how old was she? Over 50 years?
Yep.
Is that correct? All right. And she died on December the 11th, 2023 in Chambers County. Is that correct?
Yep.
To your knowledge, did you ever have a discussion with her about a will?
No, did not.
Okay. And to your knowledge, she had no will.
He had no will.
Okay. She had no children. Is that correct?
Right.
And she was the daughter of Gloria D. Fisher Jameson and William L. Jameson Sr. Is that correct? She had one sibling, was William L. Jameson Jr., and he's deceased.
Correct.
And he had no children. Is that
Yeah,
correct? Okay. And her father was William L. Jameson Sr. Is that correct?
Yeah.
And he had he had the children, but also he had a sibling, but he's deceased. Is that correct?
Right.
And he had siblings, which was George Newman Jameson Jr. Is that correct?
Yeah.
And Mr. Jameson Jr. had two daughters, Kathy L. Jameson Schull and Cynthia L. Jameson Pickens. Is that correct?
Yes.
And those are her children. Her mother, Gloria D. Fisher Jameson, she just had Judith and William Jameson, and she is deceased, but she is survived, or she had siblings, or her mother, excuse me. Her mother was Annie Lee Sire Fisher. Is that correct?
Right.
And she had siblings, Ada Doreen Sire Shoemaker, who is deceased, but she leaves children Omar Geraldine Shoemaker Flewellen and Linda Louise. Well, let me back up. She had Oma Geraldine Shoemaker Flewellen, correct?
Right.
And she also then had Linda Louise Shoemaker Dutton, who is deceased.
Yes.
And Linda Dutton leaves Glenn Irving Dutton, Delinda Doreen Dutton, and Cindy Louise Duggett. Is that correct? Okay. She also had a sibling, Myra May Sire White, a daughter who's deceased. Is that
Yeah,
correct?
Right.
And she leaves one daughter, Juanita Joe White Shoemaker. Is that correct? Yeah. She had one other sibling, which was Wayne H. Sire, who is deceased, and he leaves two children, Harold Lee Sire and Stella Louise Thomas.
Correct.
Have I identified all of the heirs at law to your knowledge?
I believe so.
And you know the family well enough, the personal family history, that if there were any other heirs, you would know of those children?
I would.
And have you received any compensation for your testimony this morning?
None.
And have you you don't have any interest in this estate?
Not to know of.
Pass the witness, Judge.
All right, yes.
Well, Mr. Fuller covered this very complicated estate very well, so I have no further questions, Your Honor.
All right, call your next witness.
Ms. White,
Lonnie
would
B.
you take places with Mr. Fisher? Ms. White, would you state your full name for the court?
Weta Kerr White.
And how did you know the Jameson family?
They were family,
For over how many years?
all my life, over 50.
And you don't have any interest in the estate, do you?
No,
And you haven't received any, and don't anticipate any compensation for your testimony here this morning. Is
No.
that correct? All right. And did you ever have any discussion with the decedent, Miss Judith Ann Jameson, in connection with the will?
no,
Okay. Your knowledge, she had no will.
no.
You've heard the questions that I asked Mr. Fisher in regards to her somewhat complicated history,
Yes.
family history. And if I ask you those same questions or identify those same family members and descendants again, would your answers be the same?
Yes.
I pass the witness, Judge.
Sorry, my button wasn't working. I have no questions, Your Honor.
You may step down.
Okay.
And Ms. Dutton, would you come forward? Your Honor, that's all I have on the airship, and I'd like to proceed on the independent administration.
Okay, Ms. Rendon, are you good with the airships as presented?
I am good, Your Honor. Thank you.
All right, so I'm gonna approve the judgment declaring airships and also your payment. And Counselor, you may proceed
All right.
with the administration.
All right, thank you, Judge. Ms. Dutton, would you state your name for the court?
Delinda Doreen Dutton.
And you have an interest in this estate, do you not?
Yes.
And the decedent, Judith Ann Jameson, died on December the 11th, 2023 in Chambers County. She was 65 years of age. Is that correct?
Yes.
And you're asking the court to appoint you as independent administrator of that estate?
Yes.
And all the heirs at law that I've identified in connection with the airship have all agreed and signed waivers and consents for you to serve as independent administrator. Is that correct?
Yes.
and you're asking the court to appoint you independent administrator.
Yes,
And your knowledge, you're not disqualified. You've never committed a felony. Is that correct also?
yes, that's correct.
That you have not? Correct,
Yes.
that you have not. Okay. And there is a need for administration in this state.
Yes.
Your Honor, I have nothing further.
Yeah, what about a bond? Mr. Fuller?
Oh, the bond, Your Honor, all the heirs at law have signed consents and waivers. We'd ask the court to appoint her as independent administrator without bond.
Hereby appoint Ms. Dutton as independent administrator and authorize letter. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Judge.
Watch out for those characters you got in your office.
Yeah, I know, Judge. I know. I know who
Especially
I'm
Lonnie
dealing with.
B. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Take care.
Thank you, Judge.
Thank you. All right. Have we got Ms. Clapper?
Finally, Judge, can you hear me?
I can hear you and you can hear me. All right.
Well-
Going back up to cause number 41. Now, Ms. Kellogg, I think you got all your witnesses and your ad litem, so you may proceed.
Your Honor, I want to call Chris Stokes.
Yes, ma'am.
You may proceed.
Mr. Stokes, please state your name for the record.
Christopher Robert Stokes.
And how are you acquainted with the decedent Timothy Lynn White?
I met him through his brother, Steve.
And did the decedent die on February 17th, 2022 in Chambers County at the age of 60?
That sounds right. Yes, ma'am.
And to the best of your knowledge and belief, did the decedent die without a will?
Yes, ma'am.
And based on your acquaintance with the decedent, do you find yourself knowledgeable of his family history and his marital history?
His family history. Yes, ma'am.
And was decedent not married at the time of his death? Do you know that? Is that correct?
That sounds correct.
And to the best of your knowledge and belief, the decedent didn't have any children, correct?
That's correct.
And to the best of your knowledge, decedent's parents predeceased him, is that correct?
That's correct.
And decedent had one sibling named Stephen Allen White, is that correct?
That's correct.
And do you have any interest in decedent's estate?
I do not.
And you're not related under the laws of descent in the state of Texas, is that correct?
That's correct. I'm not related.
And has anyone offered you anything in exchange for your testimony today?
No, ma'am.
I have no further questions, Your Honor.
Clever.
I do. Mr. Stokes, it's nice to talk to you again. How are you today?
Yes, ma'am. Doing well.
And I understand that you met Mr. White through his brother when he would come to visit his brother. That's
That's
correct?
correct. That's correct.
All right. Now, you have no interest in testifying today. No one's promised you anything for your testimony today. That's correct, right?
That's correct, ma'am.
All right. And having known and the fact that he was divorced and had no children and died as a single man, do you know of any heir, you personally know of any heir that would take the estate of Timothy Lynn White other than his brother, who is your good friend, isn't he?
Stephen?
Yes.
Yes, I've known Stephen probably 30 years. And I don't know of any other family that Tim had.
And over that 30 years, Timothy Lynn would come up and visit with his brother.
That's correct.
And that's when you met him and had conversations with him and know that he didn't have children of his own.
That's correct.
All right. Well, thank you very much for your testimony today.
Yes,
Do
ma'am.
you know how to spell Timothy Lynn? Lynn, the Lynn on Timothy? You have any knowledge of that?
I don't know the exact spelling. I would be guessing.
Okay. All right. That's all of this witness, Your Honor.
Oh, your next witness, Counselor.
I would like to call Courtney Erdman. I don't think she was sworn. I don't think she was sworn in, Your Honor.
Raise your right hand, please.
To go, there you are. Do you solemnly swear affirm the testimony you're giving today is true and correct, so help you God?
I do.
And
What's
you
your
may
last
proceed.
name?
Erdman,
Spell it.
Erdman.
Thank you, ma'am.
Courtney, how were you acquainted with the decedent Timothy Lynn White?
I am dating his nephew.
And did the decedent die on February 17th, 2022 in Chambers County at the age of 60?
Yes.
And to the best of your knowledge and belief, did the decedent die without a will?
Yes.
And based on your acquaintance with the decedent, do you feel like you knew him sufficiently well to testify as to his family history and his marital history?
Yes.
And decedent was not married at the time of his death, correct?
Correct.
And to the best of your knowledge and belief, decedent did not have any biological or adopted children, correct?
Correct.
And to the best of your knowledge, decedent's parents predeceased him. Is that correct?
Yes. Correct.
And decedent had one sibling, Stephen Allen White. Is that correct?
Yes. Correct.
And do you have any interest in decedent's estate?
No.
And you're not related under the laws of descent of the state of Texas, correct?
Correct.
And has anyone offered you anything of interest
No.
to testify here today?
No.
Okay. I have no further questions, Your Honor. I pass a witness.
Ms. Erdman, it's nice to talk to you again. How are you today?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. Problem with the volume, but got
Let's see.
that good. You knew Timothy Lynn White
Yeah.
during your lifetime. You met him.
Yes.
You had times when the family got together and they had wonderful times when he came. Is it Tennessee where all of y'all live?
Correct. Yes.
All right. So when he came from Texas to Tennessee. So during that, how many years that you knew him?
Probably 3 to 4 at that time. Then he passed away. Obviously I'm still in contact with the family now, but before he passed away, it would have been, let's see, I started dating Ellis in 2019. So about 3 years.
All right. And during that time, Timothy Lynn White came to Tennessee and you actually had times that you spent with him and
Correct.
the family.
Correct.
And it's
multiple phone conversations in the meantime.
With Mr. White?
Yes. Yes.
Wonderful. So you knew that he was divorced, and he was divorced here in Chambers County.
Correct.
October 18th of 2000, but you may not have known the date, but it was here in Chambers County.
Yes.
And that on the divorce proceedings, there's no children listed during that divorce. Did you ever know Mr. White to have children of his own?
No.
All right. So you have personal knowledge of that. And of course, you're up there with all the family. So you know
Yes.
that the grandparents, his parents are dead.
Yes.
And they've predeceased Timothy Lynn White.
Correct.
You know that Stephen Allen White is the sole brother of
Yes.
Timothy Lynn White, that there's no other sibling, meaning sister or other brother alive or even born.
Correct.
Or predeceased. And that then Stephen Allen White had a son, and that's who you date?
Yes.
No, nephew. Okay.
It's Timothy's nephew, so it'd be
Yes.
Stephen's son.
All right. And so the sole heir under Texas law when you die without a will. And did you know that they looked for a will but couldn't find it?
Correct.
All right. Would be Stephen Allen White. Thank you for your time today.
Thank you.
Ms. Keller.
Your Honor, I'd like to call Ellis Allen White.
Okay, so let's take care of
Oh,
the
I'm sorry.
heirship first. That's okay. Ms. Clapper, you've seen the judgment declaring heirship and you agree to it?
I do, Your Honor, but there is one issue.
Go ahead.
Lynn is technically spelled Linn. It is on his death certificate and his obituary and the divorce, but the divorce decree only had an L. And I think that's where everybody may have gone astray. The correct spelling of Timothy Lynn White's name is Timothy, Timothy, Lynn, Linn, White, White. I supplemented my pleadings to say the correct name, AKA Timothy Lynn White, because some other people may have misspelled his name I just want it to be correct in case there's some sort of 401k out there that he would have through his employer and they have it spelled Linn. That would be for it just needs to be correct. Do you want?
I thought we amended the application.
I did too, but I couldn't find it. But I remember it.
Me too.
I'm gonna approve the judgment declaring heirship. If you want to file, make sure we have an amended one with the correct spelling.
I will.
In fact, I'll go ahead and change it on this one that I'm going to sign now.
That'd be great, Your Honor. Linn.
Yeah, got it.
Huh.
And then if you want to send the corrected one in, we'll take care of that. All right, so I'm gonna
Okay.
approve the judgment declaring heirship. Approve Ms. Clapper's fees.
Thank you, Judge.
You're welcome. Thank you. And you may proceed, Counselor, with independent administration.
I want to call Alan White.
Yes.
Mr. White, you've been sworn in, correct?
Yes, sir, I have.
All right, you may proceed.
Please state your name for the record, Ellis.
Alan White.
And how were you acquainted with decedent Timothy Lynn
Sorry.
White?
He was my uncle.
And did the decedent die on February? Sorry. And did the decedent die on February 17th, 2022 in Chambers County at the age of 60?
Yes, ma'am, he did.
And did you undertake a thorough investigation to try to find a will?
Yes, we did.
And based on the search, is it your belief that the decedent died without a will?
Right. He passed away without a will.
And was decedent a resident of Chambers County at the time of his death?
Yes, ma'am, I believe he was.
And to the best of your knowledge and belief, the only heir to decedent's estate is Stephen Allen White. Is that
Yes.
correct?
Correct.
And the estate consists of real and personal property with value in excess of $75,000, correct?
Correct.
And there's a need for an administration, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And you're asking the court to appoint you as the independent administrator.
Yes.
Is that dog objecting to these proceedings or what?
He's about to go outside. Come on, Jack. Jack, come on. Sorry.
It's okay. It
I'll
happens.
just go in here. He's a cranky old man. So,
Okay.
all right.
And do you confirm that you're not disqualified from serving as the administrator of the state, that you've never been convicted of a felony, correct?
Correct.
And to the best of your knowledge and belief, all potential heirs have entered an appearance in the case and consent to you being appointed as the administrator of the state, correct?
Yes, ma'am, they do.
And if you're appointed, you're asking the court to waive the requirement of a bond and an appraiser. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Your Honor, I have no further questions.
So it's the who is it that's the beneficiary, Stephen Allen White, agreed to no
Correct.
bond? Is he signed a waiver of bond?
Yes, sir. Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. All right, then I'm gonna hereby appoint the independent administrator of the state with no bond. Thank you, ma'am. Ms. Clapper.
Thank you, Judge. May I be excused?
You may be.
Thank you, Your
Well,
Honor.
Thank
Have a
you.
good day.
You too. All right, cause number 21, say to Kenneth R. Peting. Daniel, do not ask him if he's a good moral character, because he's under oath.
try to be.
Okay. You may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. So I've got with me Dennis R. Peting, who was sworn in. He's my witness. And Mr. Peting, I'm going to ask you a few questions. Is it true that Kenneth R. Peting died on January 18th, 2024 in Beach City, Chambers County, Texas, at the age of 96 years, and that 4 years have not elapsed since the date of his death? Is that true? Yes. And is it true that the decedent was domiciled and had a fixed place of residence in Chambers County at the date of his death? Yes. And is it true that Kenneth Peting had a will, which is dated May 3rd, 2019, and that this will was never revoked as far as you know?
Yes.
And is it true that a necessity exists for the administration of Kenneth Peting's estate?
Yes.
Is it true that no child or children were born to or adopted by the decedent after the date of the will?
Yes.
And is it true that the decedent was not divorced or had his marriage annulled or declared void after the date of the will?
Yes.
Now, is it true that in the decedent's will that your mother, Doris Peting, was named as executor, but that she has renounced her right to serve as executor?
Yes.
And is it true that you were then named as the next in line to serve as executor?
Yes.
And is it true that you, as the independent executor named in the will, are not disqualified by law from accepting letters testamentary or from serving as such, and that you are entitled to letters testamentary?
Yes.
Your Honor, I've got no further questions for this witness.
All right, everybody admits the will of probate and authorize letters. Thank you, sir. Dennis, good to see you. Take care.
Thank you, Judge.
All right, cause number 24, the state of Cody Neal Campbell.
Good morning, Your Honor.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. You may proceed.
Thank you. I have my client Cheryl Stout here.
Good morning.
Would you like
Morning.
to swear in, Your Honor?
I think we sworn you in, haven't we, Ms. Stout?
No, sir.
All right, go ahead and raise your right hand, please.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're giving today is true and correct, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
Thank
All
you.
right, you may proceed,
Thank you.
Counselor.
Ashley Reiner is here on behalf of Cheryl Lynn Stout in our application for letters of administration in the estate of Cody Neal Campbell. I'd like to call Ms. Stout. Would you please state your name for the court?
Cheryl Lynn Stout.
Thank you. And how are you related to Cody?
I'm his mother.
Okay. And it's true that Cody passed away on October 22nd, 2023, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And 4 years have not elapsed since the filing of our application and his date of death?
No.
Okay. And he was a resident of Chambers County at the time of his death, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And to your knowledge, Cody was not married at the time of his death?
That's correct.
And Cody had one child born to him during his life?
Yes.
Okay. And who is that lovely girl?
Avery Blake Campbell.
Okay. And she was born on January 5th, 2016?
Yes.
Okay. And Avery Blake Campbell's mother was also provided notice of our application, and we filed a waiver for her on file with the court, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And to the best of your knowledge, Cody passed away without a will?
That's correct.
Okay. And do you believe you would have known if Cody had had a will?
Yes, I would have known.
You had those type of conversations with him?
Yes.
Okay. And also, I understand that you reviewed his paperwork after his passing and did not come across a will, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Now, a necessity exists for the administration of this estate as there's a cause of action stemming from Cody's workplace accident, ultimately resulting in his death. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And your son's estate currently has no assets, correct?
Correct.
At the time of his death, he owned a vehicle which has since been repossessed. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And so we're requesting that the court appoint you as dependent administrator of your son's estate today.
Yes.
Okay. And you and I have previously discussed qualifications, and you're qualified, not disqualified from serving as dependent administrator.
Yes.
You don't have a criminal history, and you didn't owe Cody any money, correct?
No, I don't.
And so we're really asking the court today to appoint you as dependent administrator of this estate for the purpose of bringing the lawsuit on behalf of the estate and for any potential survival cause of action the estate may have, correct?
Yes,
Okay. And we'll also, you understand that we need to subsequently request this court's approval to retain the services of personal injury counsel in that lawsuit that gets filed, correct?
yes,
Okay. And so we're asking the court to appoint you at this time to keep costs down, given that there are no other estate assets, and request that we be able to file an heirship determination once we have an understanding of the damages the estate may be entitled to recover, if any. Is that correct?
yes.
Okay. I have nothing further, Your Honor. Given the lack of estate assets, I'm not sure if your court would entertain a cash bond at this time, or alternatively, we would request a minimum corporate surety bond.
So there's no assets and it's dependent. Yeah, we'll do a minimal $50 cash bond.
Great, thank you, Your Honor. And of course, we'll update the court should we come into any other assets. And of course, if there are any damages to the estate for the survival, we'll get this court's approval and we
All
can.
right, then I'm gonna approve the letters of dependent administration.
Thank you so much, Your Honor. May we be excused?
Thank you.
It may be. Yes, ma'am.
Have a
Take
good day.
care.
Thanks.
You too. All right, cause number 35, State of Doyle, Lavoy, Summerall. Good morning, Mr. Davidson.
Good morning, Your Honor. How you doing?
I'm good. You may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. I've been sworn in.
Yeah.
Doyle Lavoy Summerall died on March 12th, 2024 at Mont Belvieu, Chambers County, Texas, at the age of 86, and 4 years have not elapsed since the date of his death. This court has jurisdiction and venue in that he had a fixed place of residence here in Chambers County at the time of his death. To the best of my knowledge, the document that's been filed with the court, which purports to be his last will and testament dated February 14th, 2024, was never revoked. There is a necessity for the administration of the estate. No state, governmental agency, or charitable organization is named in the will as a devisee. And after the date of the will, there were no children born to or adopted by the decedent, nor was there a marriage dissolved after that date. His will named his surviving spouse, Rena B. Summerall, to serve as independent executor. She is qualified and not disqualified to serve in that capacity, and would request that at this time the will be admitted to probate, and that upon filing of her oath, that Rena B. Summerall be appointed as independent executor.
Thank you, Counselor.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Have a good day.
You as well. Nice shirt.
Thank you. Eat 'em up, cats. All right, cause number 36, the State of Joanne Marie Toland.
Okay. Judge,
Which
that's
were you
me.
in,
I've been
Scott?
sworn.
Yeah, you may proceed.
Yes, sir. Joan Marie Toland died December 24th, 2023, in Baytown, the age of 91 years. She had a fixed place of residence in Chambers County at the time of her death, and she died testate, leaving this will dated the 22nd day of June, 2004, which has never been revoked so far as I know. There is a necessity for the administration of this estate, and the will was self-proven. There's no state, governmental agency, or charitable organization named in the will as a devisee, Judge. And after the date of the will, there were no child or children born to or adopted by her, and no marriage was ever dissolved after the date the will was made. And she did not apply for nor receive Medicaid benefits. And the descendant's will named her husband, Wallace William Toland, to be the independent executor. However, he predeceased her in 2014, and the will named Dwight William to serve as the alternate independent executor. And Dwight William Toland resides in Louisiana and has asked that he be released. And so the surviving heir are the remaining heirs: Denise Smesney, Dwight William Toland, Deborah Kirsten, and Darren Lester Toland have all filed distributees' consent, waivers, and renunciations in favor of Denise Smesney to serve as the independent executor. Judge, we'd ask that she be approved and appointed as the independent executor, as she is not disqualified by law, but is qualified to serve. Excuse me. It's a small estate, Judge, and we'd ask that the appraisers be waived.
Well done. Thanks, Wes.
Thank you, sir.
Have a good day.
Enjoy the rest of your day.
All right, you too. Take care.
Bye-bye.
All right, court